Good morning and welcome. My name is Taylor. I am with the Hack and Company team at Remax River City, and so are all my teammates here. Good to see everybody this morning. It's the beginning of August. We're like halfway through the summer. How's everybody feeling?
Busy.
Busy.
Feeling good.
Amy, we're a little quiet on your side, so you may have to speak up there. And
Okay.
why don't we start with you? How are you doing this morning? Why don't you introduce yourself?
All right. My name is Amy Brown. I am a super busy realtor. I had 9 active offers in July, 3 which are still pending, which is why I'm in my car. I'm going to a home inspection this morning.
And who'd you like to pass to?
I'll pass to Cordell.
Hi, my name is Cordell. I'm a first-year realtor who is also very busy. I just finished helping clients sell in multiple offers on the east side of Edmonton, and then we went and bought something in multiple offers as well. And I will pass to Anthony.
Morning, everyone. Anthony D'Souza here, and it's been an interesting couple of weeks. I just got back from vacation, and I'm really grateful for everybody on the team for all your support. You want to get busy in real estate, plan a vacation. But had a great experience in St. Albert. Great townhouse listing, walkout basement backing onto a ravine. We had multiple offers for the offer that we accepted, as well as in the backup position, which is super unique. So there's lots of investors and first-time buyers out there in the marketplace right now. I'll pass to Jane.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jane, and I'm also in the first year in real estate. And I just have a client to successfully negotiate to buy a house in McConaughey, and they're super happy to move in. And I pass to Taylor.
Good morning. My name is Taylor, and recently I actually was lucky enough to help some clients set the highest sale record of the year in the Ridge in Sherwood Park in multiple offers. So we're seeing a lot of that out there right now. I'm going to kind of pitch this maybe over to Tony. Tony, buyer's market or seller's market right now? That's what we always get asked.
Right now, it's technically a balanced market based on the stats for July, but it doesn't feel like a balanced market. It definitely feels like we're in that seller's market just based on, our own personal experiences with the good inventory.
Jane, I see you nodding there.
Yes, because last weekend, I went into 3 days for 3 deals, and all of that is movable offer. The highest movable offer I went into is 10 offer totally. So I definitely believe that.
10 offers is a lot. Amy, when you're running into multiple offers right now, is it a handful or a fistful? How many do you see?
My last month, I was usually only competing with one other, but I'm competing in a price point that there isn't a ton of people in.
Yeah, I was just working with somebody, and they were able to buy something outside of multiple offers. We thought we had another offer, and then the other offer missed the deadline.
Yay!
Yeah, it's awesome when the other team just doesn't show up. That was a sweet win. When we take a look at what we're seeing in the market stats, because we're decoding the Real Estate Association of Edmonton, or the Realtors Association, I'm eventually going to be able to say this. The Realtors Association of Edmonton has market stats they release every month. They just released a package for July. It's the beginning of August, and we are seeing kind of some trends right now. When you were looking at the data, what jumped out at you as being like a trend that's taking place right now?
You know what jumped out to me most was condos. I cannot believe how many sales of condos we had in July.
Yeah, that's absolutely can you break it down a little bit there?
Yeah, there were 375 sales of condos, which is absolutely crazy compared to what it's been. I noticed that it was the highest number that we've had this month over the last 5 years. And it was also the highest number that we've ever had over the last 5 years. So things are really looking good there.
Now, we've been talking a lot about that because we truly believe that as soon as the condo market kind of de-thaws here in Edmonton, that the whole market's going to catch fire, right? This is something that we've been watching for so long. It was so awful. Like when you see things like the worst I think that we saw, it was like April. So like prime time for real estate in 2020, there were 83 condo sales in the greater Edmonton area, right? And now as we approach 400, and that's higher than any month as far as when we take a look at 5-year averages. So the way that that's going to affect our market is going to be huge. And we've been hearing about this from the market south of us. Like Calgary has had a great experience this year with their condo market, even seeing a lot of traffic. And that's something that provides fuel up the market from there. Is there any other trends that you've been watching a little bit about or that you noticed in the stats package?
So I was just going to say this kind of along the same lines that Amy was mentioning with condos. We're on a 3-month trend of setting the record over the last 5 years for number of sales, but also for row and townhouses. When we're looking at what's been happening in the last 5 months, it's been pretty interesting to see. It's like the entry point into the market that Taylor was talking about is just like it's getting unlocked right now, which is it's really interesting to see lots of investors and lots of first-time buyers scooping these up.
Yeah, I've actually recently heard of an investment group that is calling around to property management companies to see more information on buildings. And we had someone that we had worked with previously that got an offer for 56 units at once. So imagine everybody in your condo unit gets an offer at once. You know, in the mid 2000s, we saw condo conversions where they were taking these apartment buildings that were rentals and then converting them into condos to sell individually, right? And now we're seeing that go back the other direction where one entity wants to buy an entire building and they'll do it one condo at a time. So this is something, and those condos were very inexpensive, like in the $80,000 range. And I've heard of that a couple times now with that the market around $100,000 a door here in Edmonton. Yes, it does exist, right? And that's something that should be exciting, and it should help us equalize that market. The other trend I've been kind of watching is the number of sales each month has been trending over the 5-year average all year, right? Like we can see that as a market, we're kind of picking up speed. Why do you think that there's less sellers in the market, given that there's more buyer activity?
I think it has a lot to do with that we are still getting a lot of people from outside of the province moving into our province.
Yep, we're still record setting in the amount of people that are moving to Alberta. And at first, we saw a lot of people moving to Calgary. We understand why Calgary would be the first choice, right? But it's got access to the mountains. It's more acclimate, right? But we're not much colder than there. And we have a great population here, like one of the youngest populations. And I think more people are noticing that now. Like the Financial Post released this last week that Edmonton is the most searched city when it comes to real estate for all of Canada right now. Like right now, everybody's looking north because this is where the action is. This is the last market to really like rise up. And we're seeing the number of sales come up, but we're not seeing that number of listings come up. Why won't these people list their houses? Cordell, why do you think they won't?
You know, it could be a situation where they have an interest rate locked in and a mortgage that doesn't allow them to bring it with them, or they're just not in need of an upgrade. They're still waiting for the kids to grow up, maybe the kids to move out. So it might not be the right time.
So you're thinking that it could not be related to what's happening in the market?
Yeah.
What do you see, Tony?
I'm still hearing a lot of people that need to downsize that aren't sure if they want to do it just yet, or they're not sure where they want to settle. But there definitely is there's a lot of people out there that have more bathrooms than they use and a much bigger place than they need anymore, but they're just hesitant to pull the trigger and move down market, even though it would be really advantageous for them now.
Yeah, so that's definitely like a lifestyle thing. I think that there's a ton of people that are trying to sort out the rest of their financial picture because interest rates are rising and their renewal is coming. Like those families that have a renewal next year and they're going to go from the lowest interest rate they've ever seen to technically what's kind of been normal over the last 100 years. Like we're at the interest rates that we saw during the boom here in the greater Edmonton area of like 2006 and 2007. It's the same cost for the money right now. And when we take a look at like how we kind of stack up to that, it also seems to be very similar in a few other ways. Like Calgary is outpacing us. Most other markets have had a really good last like almost a decade. And so Alberta tends to do well when everywhere else doesn't do as well. And now we're also going to start to pace to catch up to Calgary. I think that there's a few interesting stories coming out here. Like right now, it's really hard to find things at different price ranges. Like if I was sitting here right now thinking about selling my house, because I'm not one of this group that is like paying down their credit cards and trying to pay off their car loans before their mortgage goes up. At what price point do you think that I'd have a hot listing? Like where is the price point hot in Edmonton right now? And what location? Amy, I see you got something.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of hot spots. So for me, looking in between that like 750 and 850 mark was really, really tough. You had to jump onto something and you had to expect multiple offers. But I also see like 5 to 6 is like crazy right now as well.
Did you see any cold spots?
I mean, like condos are selling for sure, but they're still like 95%. So, of a list to sale ratio. So I would still say you might have some room in condos.
Yeah, like condos, as far as where it's showing right now is in their average days on market, like an average days on market of 58, down from 63 last month. So when we say they're thawing out, they are making some movement. But the other thing that I found interesting about the stats package is that they're now tracking list to sale price ratio. So right now, if you're looking for a deal, right now condos are trending at 95% of sale price. Now that's not for the hot ones that are priced well on opening weekend, but on average, when they get to that 2-month range, like it seems like they're open for a deal. Meanwhile, you take a look at single family detached dwellings and like getting more than 1% off is a deal. Like we see them kind of moving at 98%, but now it's just getting tighter and tighter. Like shopping in Sherwood Park right now, if you have a single family dwelling that's in that near 400 range, that entry level, like you're going to have an incredible audience. There's some gaps there. There's only a few things for sale, especially if you got something newer. Those little houses in places like Summerwood, just flying off the shelf. Cordell, where have you seen it that it was particularly hot?
I've had a lot of clients in between the 400,000 and 500,000 range, and just your standard double attached 3-bedroom home, and they have all been hot, both sales and purchases.
Mm-hmm. Tony, how about you?
So right now we're seeing a real need for bungalows in St. Albert up to 450. We've got a couple of buyers that are trying to keep their eye out for something like this because either they've sold their current house or they're about to sell and they really want to downsize. Be in St. Albert, have a walkable location, you know, and have a preference on like neighborhoods like Oakmont, Lacombe, you know, places like that where they just really want to be. So right now we're not seeing anything. There was 10 listings in the last, 2 months, but there's nothing new lately. And buyers are starting to get a little nervous. They're like, maybe there's not going to be anything else coming to the market. And, letting them know about the fall market and how things might happen in the next couple of weeks. But if you know anybody that's got a bungalow that they're thinking about listing now, would be a great time in St. Albert up to 450.
And Jane, I know that you've been in multiple offers in a few different neighborhoods. Which neighborhoods do you recall?
That's one in the west side of Edmonton, and we went into that one, and we had 10 offers.
Do you remember which neighborhood that was?
That's one in. I think that one is in Terwilliger.
Oh, yep. So yes. Southwest.
Yes. So it's pretty crazy out there. And for my experience, the hotspot is about just like Cordell, from 400 to 500, where I run into a lot of trouble to find one good one.
And that's pretty consistent with the market. Like normally when we see average sale price, what we're seeing is a reflection of where the most demand is, right? And near the average in the area based on what income can support, we've really been seeing like average price here at 410 in July. It came down from 418 in July of last year. So interesting to see because last year, do you remember how hot the spring was? Like we had less than 2 months of inventory and it didn't get that hot this spring, but the summer is hotter than the summers have been before. Like 3.3 months of inventory is better than July we saw last year, the July before then. Like we're really seeing this incremental change. And we're seeing it in tight inventory. The more that supply and demand are kind of like fighting back and forth here, the more we're going to see prices go up. Has anybody that had to reconsider what they were buying because the price is kind of moving away from them?
I did.
Yeah.
They were definitely up in those higher price points that I keep talking about, but I like to make it so clear, like 800 is the new 500. Like the prices that you saw even 5 years ago are gone. Like we're in a new market.
And that's going to be a big wake-up call for the people that have been kind of sitting out of real estate over the last few years. You know, if you had participated in real estate from 2015 to 2020, the playbook that you used in that market would fail you now.
Yeah.
Like you would be super aggressive pricing your property to sell it, like one buyer for every two sellers. Like you had to fight your neighbor to get a deal. And now it's not like that. Now there's a lot of properties that are getting some excitement. There's still some people overpricing though. Have you what happens when you run into a listing that's overpriced?
You wait.
Okay, tell me more.
Make a really aggressive offer, which doesn't usually go well, or you just wait it out because it's really clear when you look up the statistics to know whether a home is overpriced. And regularly the agent knows that it's a little high as well. So you wait it out.
See, that's very courteous. There's some people that'll just fire in the lowest aggressive offer. And I think that the greatest thing that we've done as a team is to make sure that everybody both lists property and purchases property. Because you're way better at negotiating for buyers when you've represented sellers and you know how they feel. Mm-hmm. So, like, how many weeks in does a seller lose confidence if they don't have an offer?
2.
Tony, you're nodding?
I was going to say 2 or 3 weeks. They're really nervous.
Mm-hmm. And now having that property that's on the market for a couple of weeks, the same thing, they might do a reduction. And then the weekend after reduction, they're really confident. Like we just gave the world a $10,000 deal or however much they move down. But then by the weekend following, I think that they're almost at the point where they're crossing their fingers again. I hope this works. And this is for people that are relatively informed. There's a whole bunch of people that are not informed at all. Let's be honest. There's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I think my house is doing well. I had 2 showings this month. Right? How would you feel, Tony, if one of your listings had 2 showings in a month?
I would feel like we're in a world of pain. Like we're not doing a good job. We haven't done a great job explaining to our sellers what the market's like. But that's something that we do quite well is we show people what's actually happening nearby. Like what does your available competition look like? Has there been any recent sales? Is there anything pending nearby? Because we want to help our sellers make great decisions and we want to help them measure and manage. But yeah, 2 showings would be pretty scary if that was our listing.
That's awesome. So taking a look at like where you see things going in the next few months here. So we're already into this summer that doesn't feel as kind of like a relief after the spring like it normally does. Like the market normally has this kind of bounce back, but still it's super aggressive as we go into the summer. What do you think that we should be expecting as we kind of look towards the tail end of the summer?
I think it's going to get hotter. I feel there's going to be a lot more attention on real estate as kids get back to school. So in the next month or so, but we're getting lots of calls of people that are wanting to make Alberta home this year. And one that's the most interesting is some of these families are thinking about starting over anyways in their same province. They're like, we have to move 4 or 5 hours away to get an affordable home. Why don't we just start over in a new province, where we have better taxes and we can buy a nicer place and start over that way. So I think that's been the most interesting that I've had for conversations recently. And I think that trend's going to happen here as we move to the fall market.
Cordell, you're nodding along with that. You've seen that same?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Just with the talks I've had with my current clients and the conversations I've had with people I haven't met yet, that's pretty much how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
Is nothing's really going to slow down.
Now, Jane, you're normally tapped into quite a few people that are looking at Canada or at Edmonton from inside Canada and outside Canada. What's the conversation like from the people that don't live here?
For the question, they don't live here?
Yeah, like those people that are looking at Edmonton that have never lived here, what are they talking about?
They're talking about, they compare between Edmonton and Calgary. They ask, like, is Edmonton going to be colder than Calgary? And then my answer on way is like not that colder. It's just a little bit more. And they talk about the price also. And they're asking about how's the market here. And yes, that's the question I run into a lot.
That's interesting. And Tony, you've still got a lot of connections from people in Ontario that are kind of looking. What's the conversation about Edmonton from the people that aren't here?
A lot of people think it's like the North Pole, right? They're like, it's so cold there. And I'm like, honestly, I've lived in both places. I would take Edmonton winters every day of the week versus Southern Ontario, where you get a heavy dump of snow and it's like a different type of cold. It goes right to your bones because it's so damp. So I'm like, here, I take my snowblower out. You bundle up, you're fine. And there you're back-breaking heavy snow. So it's slightly colder. It definitely looks worse when you're just comparing Canadian weather stats, just in sheer numbers, but it feels different. It's not so bad.
I could see that. And when you guys are in the mix right now, when you're running into different negotiations in the marketplace, how do you find that things are going? Like, let's give you an example. You have a buyer that's going through an inspection, and at the end of the inspection, there's some repairs. Representing buyers, are you guys pretty confident in getting repairs back from sellers? Are you less confident? What's that looking like?
It really depends on the property type and if you're in multiple offers or not, or really what the repairs are that are needed. We always talk to our clients about, this is not meant to be a renegotiation tactic, but if it is something that would be concerning to everybody else that would come through on this property, then we should probably at least ask them questions about it. But if you just want in multiples and you know that there could be a backup offer, like they're not going to be able to do anything. But it's just about having those conversations. But it really just comes down to what's the property type and how long has it been listed and what were the other factors involved with that offer.
Amy, I see you have something there too.
I think it varies a lot. So like from the ones that I've been doing, there are ones where I was like, I feel fairly confident in this. Let's ask. And if they say no, we'll deal with it, but let's ask. And then I have others where I'm like, we're not asking.
Yep. And knowing your position definitely helps you out. In the past, we've run into circumstances where we had buyers that were demanding in an inspection when I was working with the sellers, and the buyers were super demanding coming out of the inspection. I have no idea why they didn't think that we would have a backup offer and multiple offers, but we definitely did. And it made more sense for us to use that first inspection as information and then choose not to cooperate with that party because the way they approached us showed that they were going to walk. And they walked, and we actually walked into a higher offer with easier clients to manage during the home inspection. So that was a big win for the sellers. Mm-hmm. So I think that a lot of people may not know their position right now, and that's why I really try to help people. Like if I'm shopping with somebody in an area and at a price range where I know they're not going to have many options, we show them that in the blueprint meeting. We show them that like, hey, listen, everything you're shopping for, the average days on market is 17. Okay. Everything here sells. Everything that's tried in the last 4 months, 100% sale rate. How else are you preparing buyers for the market when it's hot? Cordell, what about the people you're working with?
Mainly being available, always keeping my eye out, because I do have clients waiting for certain things. We lost in multiples a few times. So then just sitting down and regrouping, talking about like what we have to be prepared for, maybe talking about like maybe rethinking the budget a little bit. And just the biggest thing, especially like when we're going into multiples, I have been talking to my clients a lot about a home inspection is for you, but especially with multiples and us, like if we win, getting a home inspection, going back and renegotiating is very unlikely.
Anybody else have the same experience? What are you telling your buyers when you're going into offers?
I'm definitely talking to them about having a substantial deposit. I find that people that are selling feel more confidence when they get a substantial deposit. Of course, obviously, get your pre-approval, have everything ready to go. Don't be making silly decisions. But that's also a way of like protecting myself as a realtor. You know, you gotta be careful there. And then when we make the offer, there's different ways that you can structure it to make it strong based on the things that you need and the things you can give on a little. So every single one is going to be different. There is no blanket. But being prepared and ready when you make that offer is imperative.
And just to give us some perspective, maybe we could use a $500,000 example. What do we think is normal for a deposit on 500,000? Not what's great, but what do you consider normal?
Minimum 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say closer to 20. I think that 10 is normally an appropriate deposit for 400,000, but the people that can buy a $500,000 house, because they are better off, it ends up being a larger amount of money to anchor that transaction. So when we get up to that $600,000 and $700,000 range, it's not uncommon to see those $50,000 deposits.
Yeah.
And that's
I just wanted
something
to touch on.
Go ahead, Tony.
I just wanted to touch on something that Amy was talking about. You know, a couple multiple offers recently where either I'm on the buyer or the seller side. You know, either my sellers are choosing to work with an agent that looks more prepared versus taking the most money, right? Like it's close, but the offer's clean. They, you know, gave us great information about their client and they love their neighbors and they're trying to make the best decision to, you know, for their neighborhood and for their neighbors nearby. And same with on the buying side, we've had agents tell us, we like working with your team. You gave us a really clean offer and the money's close, but they felt really good about your people. Like that's huge, right? And it makes a big difference being prepared. So make sure you have that pre-approval. We've got a letter. We know, you know, we've got a good team approach when we're approaching properties. And I do believe that having a good strategy is really the key to winning in multiple offers. Doesn't always have to be the most money.
I agree. I've actually had other realtors in the market call me and ask us who the lenders we work with are. And they've told us that they've run into our teammates over and over again on their listings, and we never miss. We're always working with prepared clients that are ready to buy a house. And that's because this isn't our first time. We've done this hundreds and hundreds of times. We also know on the other side how to make those listings come and pop, right? Like, I hope that more people get the opportunity to talk to one of the people on screen here about our listing launch process, because we're running into a seller's market where we can really set a difference here. Like that coming soon marketing. Who here is getting opening day showings on their listings?
Every time.
Man, it's just like those having that happen as those listings come to the market and then blowing up that opening weekend. Who's had to hold for offers on their listings this year? So that's what we're talking about, is making sure that box office opening weekend is a huge boom. And I know that we are locked and loaded for coming out of this long weekend, where we have a series of new listings coming to the market, and I'm excited. I think that we're going to be pushing into the fall market a little bit early. Does anybody else sense that?
Yep, definitely.
Less of a slowdown during what we normally see as the calm times, and then more of a peak when we see it get to those really hot times.
It felt like this was the peak for me. That's really what I felt like.
Like July was the peak.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand why. Like when you take a look at your experience, like you had a super hot July, top teammate for production, and that is part of when you do harvesting, right? And that's the same thing that we see from working together is we get to see teammates going through those individual experiences, and then it is a collective, and it gives us great perspective for what's going on in the stats and what's going on in every part of the greater Edmonton area, like from Sherwood Park to St. Albert in through the Southwest. Like that's some of the places we work most often, and it's really great to see so far that we know how to win there, and we're helping our clients get to that win. So if anybody that's, family still thinking about moving, what's the answer to this question? Can you still get into a new school right now? If I start shopping next week, can I get my kids into school for September?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Everybody's nodding. And why? When's the last day that they can do that?
I think it depends on the school.
It will depend on the school, so you can definitely check the websites, and they'll have more information on that. But as soon as you have a legal address in that postal code or in that like capture area, that's what you need. You don't actually need to live there. You can drive your kids to school from your current address for the first month if you're waiting for to take possession. We see it all the time. So just so you know, you can buy and sell right now, and it should feel like spring on your listing. That's what we're seeing in the market. So those families that were like, oh, should we move? Interest rates, this, that. If you think that you can, go ahead, because interest rates have been going up and so have prices. So if you're waiting for the prices to come down because the interest rates came up, it turns out there's more variables than just those two driving our market. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me here this morning and helping us unpack the stats a little bit, but just talk a little bit more about what we see in the market. I really appreciate that. Any notes that you have as far as where you're going to enjoy the long weekend this weekend?
Yep.
Touring houses.
Tony's touring houses. Amy?
I'm going to my parents' cabin in Sundre.
Woo!
Nice.
Cabin time. Anybody else taking a break or having some fun?
I'm going to the Heritage Day to taste the food there.
Oh, I'm also going to Heritage Days. If you don't know about that, you need to head down to the park there.
Okay.
Cordell?
I'll be touring houses all over the city all 3 days of the weekend. That's what I'll be doing.
On the grind. Well, if anybody out there is looking for some action, we can definitely help you out. You can call our Fast Agent hotline at 780-909-6770. Have a great month. We'll see you next month. Cheers.
See ya.